Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today we have Yuri Sinata. She is a single working mom, a salon owner, and an influencer. And today we're going to talk all about dating, relationships, divorce, being a single mom, all the things.
All the things.
Fun things. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You said you're open to talking about everything, which I love.
I'm an open book.
Yes. Okay, great. So I think you and your son are so cute. He is amazing. And I can't even imagine like being a single mom. And I got her on her only day off, which is Mondays, this little sliver of time. She's like, how long do we have? She's going to run out of here.
Exactly.
I would love to talk about that and also your previous marriage and how you ended up where you are now.
Yeah.
And then we can finish off with where you're going.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Awesome. So your first marriage, did you get married young?
I will say young. I was 26. So that could be young for American. That could be pretty old for Asian.
Okay.
Where I came from,
Is that something that you always wanted?
To have a kids or to be married?
To be married with a family, yeah.
When I was young, I think that's all we know. When we get out from basically college or university, like that's what we're planning to do.
Supposed to do.
Exactly.
Next step.
Get married and have kids right away. Number one, number two, number three. Everything was kind of like set up that way.
And so when you met your first husband, what did you think? Like,
So funny enough, like because I came here and then, as an immigrant and it was struggle financially. At one point I was planning to not have any kids because to me, like, wow, like it's hard to taking care of myself. And that was like, financially was really hard. So then to me, what's the point of bringing like a child and, suffer with me or something? But I think after seeing some, when I was working at the first salon that I was used to work at as an assistant, I met some people who's like they're older and some of them lost their husband. And that's when they were telling me how they're so grateful, like they have their kids because they'll be able to continue their life. That's kind of like make me, wow, like, okay, after, 40 years from now, like between me and my husband, what's next, Yeah. So that's kind of give me like a little bit of a fear. Like I don't want to be like alone, thinking a lot away. Yeah.
I see. And so you met your husband here in the U.S.
Yep.
Okay. What brought you over to the U.S. initially?
Just want to change my life.
And where are you from originally?
Indonesia.
Indonesia. Okay. And your family is back there?
They're back there, yeah.
So you were with your ex-husband for quite a while.
Yeah, for 13 years. We were married for almost 10 years.
What was the reason that you split?
I never really understood what love is. I grew up in a culture that kind of almost make fun of love. And like love or anything that romantic or anything have to do with feeling is like not real. What's real is like the length of the relationship and how many kids, how wealthy you are. Like all of them more very materialistic and like, the physical, like what you see, not really like how you feel.
When you first met your husband, did you even feel anything?
I felt like I think I can care. I care for him. I love him as a person, but I don't really necessarily know do I really love him or not. I think the difference between now that I understand what love is, there's a difference between wanting a person or needed a person. So I feel like all of my relationship before him, I was also engaged to someone else. I think it was more need this person as my emotional dependency on a person rather than like I want to be with this person. So I never knew what's the difference between. So like when I was in that marriage, to me, staying in the marriage and being loyal in the marriage and doing my housewife duty, like not housewife, I was a working wife always, being a wife duty is like being loyal and like cater basically, doing a lot of, service for like love, right? So that's, I thought that was love.
What have you learned since then? What is love? Well, because love is different things to different people.
Yes.
Because I would say in traditional Asian cultures or even some like developing countries, it is more practical, right?
Yes.
They don't take the time to go. They don't care about therapy or like emotions.
Yes.
It's different.
Yes.
So to you, what has changed with you since in how you view love?
See, I think because the more I understand about who I am and the more I understand my heart and get to know my heart, and that's when I kind of separate the emotional dependency of the feeling of needing a person and wanting a person. Because to me, what I realize is actually, I know that my ex-husband loved me very much and the way he wanted to be with me all the time. And I felt loved in that way. And I think in a lot of ways, he might not feel that much how much I love him, because that was part of our like problem and our issue. And at that moment, I really don't understand, why don't you feel like I love you? I'm doing this for you. But because he doesn't feel the love, because I didn't love him the way I should love him. So it was a constant struggle, because I feel like, what else should I do for you to make you understand that I love you? Because in my head, I was already loving him. But apparently later on, I understand, no wonder he never felt like that, because I never really truly love him. But I do, like I said, like I love him as a person, like I love him as a human being, but I don't think there is, what is that called? There's like a man and woman, like love. Is that, there's like a different love, right? Love for your children, love for your partner,
Like romantic, like a draw towards
yes,
that
like I said,
person.
I think it's like the wanting and needing is a completely different things.
How was the masculine, feminine energy in your marriage?
The masculine, that's one thing that I think was the blockage of everything. Was, if you ask a lot of my friends, like, even though I look like a girl, I don't feel like a girl. I grew up with a lot of boys, a lot of like guys always think that I'm one part of the boys. It's always been that way. So there's a lot of this, absolutely, the masculine and feminine energy that doesn't translate well in the relationship, because I felt like always felt like I have so much masculine energy. I don't know how to be, or embracing my feminine energy, because at that moment, even like during that time, I feel like having emotion for me was kind of like a sign of weakness, and I don't want to be emotional. And how could you be in a relationship with man and woman, like, or with my husband as a man, if I can't even be a woman? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Did you feel safe? Like, did he give you a space to do that? Or did you feel like you had to pick everything up? Because there's certain dynamics where you feel like, I mean, I'm using myself as an example, where if I feel like the guy, if he's not stepping up, like, I'm just going to do it. Or, and there's other certain people who make it a little easier for you to just like, and safe to sink into that space, feminine space.
I think, of course, but I think, again, back then I don't even know the difference between masculine and feminine energy. Masculine energy there's nothing bad about it, but what I had was toxic masculine energy. So it's not even the good kind of masculine energy.
What's an example of something that would be toxic masculinity?
I think it's
that you
a
would do?
controlling part, and feeling like there's a priority, feeling like I can do it faster, better, that. Just because like I felt like, because again, I think coming for an immigrant, and like coming from as an immigrant, and I feel like growing up with like not a really like a good, solid, loving family foundation, I felt like I always on a survival mode. And when you're in a survival mode, like I feel like you have to kind of like push this masculine energy to survive, to be strong. And like all you know is to be strong, to be fast, to be ambitious, to be a go-getter. Yeah. Everything is just taking. That's how you feel. So you don't know how to be in. I feel like my ex-husband giving me everything, all the space or everything that I needed to be whatever I wanted. But I don't even know what am I supposed to want, or why am I supposed to be, or who am I supposed to be.
With your family, did your parents raise you to be very independent, or was it another reason that you decided to be in the survival mode?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of negative perspective of men and marriage, where I came from. I feel like maybe, I'm not sure if, that's really not as bad as here. I want to say, because, having a lot of women being cheated on, I understand that now women also cheat, or maybe now we just talk about it. I'm not sure, but obviously I grew up with that mentality that men cheat, men beat, men, a lot of like so much of a negative perspective about men. So like we always kind of like being trained to be really careful, be very protecting, very, build our walls, and, like just to kind of like survive, like, or not being hurt like by people. Yeah. This is also one of the biggest blockages. We cannot love if we have all these walls.
So when it was time for you and your ex-husband to split, did it come out of nowhere? Did you sit down and talk about it? How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I have obviously, because of where I came from, later on I learned after we separated and after we saw therapists, I was starting to understand a lot more about attachment, which I also don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about love. I don't know anything about relationship. All I know in a relationship is being loyal. That's all I know. What I didn't know that I have a pretty strong avoidant attachment. So then whenever like the problem occur, I always felt like, oh, I'm going to leave. It's just like how I want to detach from any relationship, however I felt it. But luckily, for the longest time, my ex doesn't love me very much. Like he doesn't want to ever love me. So he's starting to cater into, this has become a toxic, relationship when he's starting to like, I'll do whatever it takes to be with you. So also at this moment, I'm starting to kind of like, look, was he really love me? Or was he having an emotional dependency with me?
Yeah.
Because we both don't really understand. I don't think I was his second relationship and I don't know anything about love. So we both kind of like blind in that sense. All he knows is he have to be with me or else like he felt like he can even live without me. So now I feel I have to stay because I don't want to hurt this person because this person is so good to me and love me. Like, what should I ask for more? I don't want to be like feeling I'm not grateful for what I got, because every woman or every people that I know, like how he loved me, everybody always told me like, you'll never find anybody that love you like that. You're kind of scared about it, right? And you felt like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should stay. And the longer I stay, but I know inside I don't feel like that. And I think what pushing it is because when you stay or doing something not really coming from your heart, you're starting to build a lot of resentment. But the resentment, I thought in that moment was I resent him. But it was actually me resenting myself to be in a relationship that I don't even want to be in. I think like my feminine energy was not fed or like my feminine energy was not really, can't really come out. And I don't know how to get it out. So there's a lot of like blank spots, and I don't understand a lot of that. So when we're starting going to marriage therapist, that's when I learned a lot about attachment, about, the feminine, masculine energy and all of that. And I starting to see, the more I see it, the more I see ourselves as being just simply not compatible. We are so not compatible.
I see. Did he agree?
He doesn't agree.
Okay.
He doesn't agree because he's blinded by his love. So he cannot even see it either. Okay. So after the therapist and I still wanted to get a divorce because again, when you hold a resentment, you become a very angry person. So you felt like starting to get very snappy. You feel like you get angry so easily. There's something in your heart that is not communicate, and usually it comes from a lot of anger and resentment. And that's when I start seeing after, Kai was born, I starting to get very, very like short-tempered. And I'm like, I don't want to be this person. So I need to like detach, And even at the moment, I still don't know what love is. And I still like believe maybe we just need to separate it. Maybe one day I will find myself again, or I have no idea. Like maybe if we were meant to be, we'll be together again. That's how I thought. But at that moment, I really know that I didn't love him the way I should. And I know that we're not compatible.
How's your relationship with him now, co-parenting?
We're doing okay, as best as we can, I think. Okay. Yeah.
Do you talk only when you, like logistics? Do you talk outside
Yes, very logistic, yeah. Good. I have to say he was very hurt with the breakup and, with the divorce. And he still loved me when I left. So even at that time, I don't even understand why did he still love me, because I don't understand love at all. I didn't know how much he was so blinded and all of that. But after I learned so much about love, I wrote him a long letter. I really apologize sincerely. If I knew a lot earlier about what love was, I was not going to into the relationship, or keep him as long as I should. But I believe everything happened for a reason. And I know that Kai, is the fruit of this relationship, and that's how it has to be.
Besides therapy, have you done anything else like read books or what's really helped you in learning what love is and connecting to yourself?
Definitely read a lot of books.
Okay. Do you have a few favorites?
Mastery of Love, probably.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot. Attachment, definitely. A lot. I felt like get slapped every page, I'm like, oh, shit. Okay. My fault. Okay. I'm not innocent. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. The self-responsibility is a huge part of it.
Yeah,
huge part
for
of
sure. I didn't, like if you don't understand or know anything about this, how could you know? We were so blind.
Also, a reminder to not be hard on yourself either, because a lot of us were not taught. We just emulate what we see. So if our parents or movies, that's basically it, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're really lucky and you have a really healthy relationship modeled for you, which I feel like is a small percentage of people.
I don't even have one, It's a bad thing. And I would like to have one, but I probably will have, growing up, probably one family that I thought they have a more kind of like healthy masculine, feminine, and you can actually see the love and but one couple, but then that was it. And movies for us, it was just like we weren't even told us, so like movie was just, oh, it's because it's in the movies, so it's not even real. So like, why do we know what's real?
Do you have any friends who are in marriages that you admire now? Any more role models?
Yes, I do. I have some couple that, and I also do like weddings, makeup and hair, which is very ironic, right? And I learned actually a lot of love from the story. I have those like elephant memory. When I met my couple, and I like to ask them how this, story started and stuff. And it's crazy because I know slowly I starting to have those feeling of like, I know which one was meant to be together for a long time. Yeah. And it was kind of like starting from love, or was that again, the emotional dependency, or like, oh, we have to stay together because we already spent a lot of years together. So like, the marriage, was it based on love, or was it based on the time that you put in,
Yeah, there's a lot of
different story and dynamic. And it's crazy because I starting to see a lot. And believe it or not, I even know which one is going to get divorced. I even once or twice will tell the bride when we're doing a trial that I don't think you should go into the married, because I felt was wrong. Like a lot of it was wrong. I want to judge, but it was wrong because I come from how she felt about relationship, and I felt it. And then of course, end up she was cheated on, and I don't want to say I was right, but I felt it from her.
I photographed wedding for 15 years, and it's so cool.
It's crazy.
Seeing. You just learn a lot just by observing.
Yes, 100%.
Right? So I understand what you're saying. Like, I found it really helpful observing, like, also in learning what I want, what I gravitate towards. Like, this couple's, like, they had a quiet comfort. You could just tell they're like, I liked at the foundation, like, of friendship dynamic. There was mutual respect. I learned
mutual respect, 100%.
Was huge.
Like, they adore each other. I think the adore is there, you know, respect and adoration. I think it has to come together to be like a good relationship.
What else have you done to tap into your feelings and embody your feminine?
After I read a book, I like to sit with myself to really think and reflect on like all my old relationship. And that's when I start to see what my tendency, what's my trigger, because I couldn't see it. So I will deny all these like things. It's just crazy because like for the longest time, I always kind of block my emotion. Like I used to, even if I starting to cry, I would tell to myself, like, don't cry. Like, don't you ever try to cry. Because when you're growing up, like feeling is not a good thing. You're starting to always blocking your own emotion. You don't even know what you're supposed to feel, right? So you're not even allowing yourself to feel. So now, because I know the tool to kind of like tapping into like myself, whenever I felt something, I sit with it and I ask myself, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What is it, this part of my trauma that came into this feeling? Like, why is creating this feeling? I think understanding that is me getting to know my heart and my soul. And I felt a lot more connected to what I call it her. Now I kind of like have this relationship with her. You know, her is like myself inside of me that I never had relationship with. And I think that was just the most amazing. And now whenever she felt something, I respect her feeling. I respect her feeling. I respect her. I let her to feel it and give her time to like, you want her to cry, let's cry. You want to be upset, let's be upset, you know, and be able to communicate that.
It's kind of like reparenting yourself.
Yes. The words is reparent. Yeah.
How were your emotions received as a kid?
Oh, yeah. Funny enough, I learned so much also watching Kai, because again, I felt like I almost have not a lot of memories of my childhood, unless like, you know, like the emotional part of my childhood. All I know is I was a sad girl, you know, because I was suppressed emotionally. I remember like even like if you want to like somebody, like, you know, when you're a teenager, you like somebody, that's wrong. When you're like sad or cry, that's stupid. When you're like, we cannot be angry because angry is not good. So what feeling are we supposed to ever have? You know what I mean? Every emotion I feel like I was showing, it felt like I was shamed, like a lot of shaming. And I started to feeling kind of embarrassed about my feeling. So when I first time I felt like I was falling in love with a person, I almost felt embarrassed to admit it. They're like, oh my God, I fall in love with this person. I'm like, but I'm embarrassed to admit it. I was embarrassed that I was brokenhearted. Yeah, so now like when I reparented, I kind of like remember like I'm always been, when I'm reading a lot about a sensitive child, because I think Kai is a very sensitive child. I have all that definition of a sensitive child, but it was not ever nurtured as a sensitive child. Yes.
Is it the HSP, like specific highly
Yes.
sensitive person?
Yeah, highly sensitive person. Yeah.
Okay.
So we felt a lot more. And then like, when I see Kai, he's having the same issue. Like, luckily I teach this Kai to like, to speak up his emotions. So he's angry, he's mad, frustrated. You use this word. He doesn't know how to express why is he's feeling this way. Because when you are highly sensitive, the emotion was so big and it literally felt like you were choking with your own emotion, that if you say a word, you will be like bawled and tears, And this has happened all the time. Whenever I'm like, I have to say it, I said like, wow, like, but it's great because like, when I was young, I have never had anyone to like know that I can't let anyone know that I'm crying or having emotions. So everything was so bottled. Everything was so bottled. And I'll be like, mostly have to cry alone and have to mourn alone. And a lot of that also come into the relationship, like I don't want to show that to my partner that I'm feeling certain way.
Vulnerable.
Yeah. It's because like being emotional is weak and I don't want to be weak because I want to be strong.
So since you've been dating, how's that been?
So after my divorce, I had 2 relationships then. And then my last relationship, I think, was teaching me so much more about that. I think it's because we have a lot more that masculine, feminine energy. For some reason, my feminine energy was coming out a lot more in this relationship rather than before. I think it's also because I also do a lot of self-work, a lot of self-reflection. So I think that came a lot on this relationship. And because there was also like my first true heartbreak. So it really took me to a place that I really need to sit and I really have to like look, like what was going on, what happened there,
This is the guy you dated, the first guy you dated after?
No, this is like the third guy, the recent one.
The most recent one.
Yeah, but we're not together anymore. But, we become a good friend after all because, we found ourselves as like, we're soulmates, but it doesn't mean we have to be together. There's a lot of like a long story, but we can't be together. But we respect that reality, right? I'm not going to push something. We know that we both can push something that was not meant to be. But we both know that our soul was a soulmate. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's a really good distinction.
Yes.
Because a lot of people think that because you have that soul connection, that they want to be with that person. Yeah. But you live in the 3D world.
Yeah. We just learned about this. Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. Yeah. So to me, again, because I think when you come into the place that the most vulnerable, and when you're the most vulnerable, first, don't be a victim is one. When you come into a place and you ask why, not why it's happening to me as like, oh my God, why is it happening to me? But you want to know why this is happening as something that, what does the universe want you to learn? Or what does God want me to learn from this? Because this is something huge, right? Because I never felt this way. It was crazy and intense. And let me sit down and let me look into the relationship. What am I learning from this? Yeah. And this is when I learned so much, like I said, about my heart, about my soul, about how my attachment came out in the relationship. All of that came after I sit vulnerably with, when I was like brokenhearted, and I was be able to, even like after we broke up for the first time and we came back together as kind of like a different person at this point. Okay. I come in with a lot more ego was out of the way. My wall was out of the way because I break those walls. The breakup breaks this wall. It's funny because, you said you will think like after you come into the breakup, when you get, again, if I want to get into the survival mode, I will never date somebody like this. I will never fall in love again. You can go, or you can take this experience to this, right? Which a lot of people do because we want to protect ourselves. But if you really ask, what is a big picture? What is I'm here to learn? You will be surprised. It will not get you to that space. And it's actually make you even more wanting to have a new relationship because now you come in as a different person, a healthier, a stronger person with less wall. It's actually not more walls,
How would you describe this last guy that you dated?
Funny enough, we're very similar in a lot of ways. Okay. Like we think alike about like the universal energy. I guess emotionally we are very connected and very spiritual. Not necessarily religious, but spiritual. Mm-hmm. because I think the soulmate part, what I didn't know is like when you met your soulmate, everything become very, very natural. Like this is something that I never knew with anybody, or like I never felt it with anybody else. Like once he got COVID last year, I was with him for like 5 days, and I had COVID and he was with me for 5 days, and we're quarantining at home. Of course, some people also like when you quarantine with your partner, that's I think a lot of people find, are they actually really good together or really bad, right?
Yes.
When you met your soulmate, you can just sit there and not doing anything, and it felt like it was fun. It's the weirdest thing, like you can just sit there and doing nothing, and we have a lot of fun. And that's when the soul are very deeply connected without really doing anything, like doing stuff for this person, doing stuff for person, or like say a lot of things or doing a lot of things. I don't think we need a lot of that. I think this relationship had become very like naturally, and it was creating a lot of magic that, has nothing to do with us. I feel like the soul and the universe creating that like magic that was happening. I'm pretty sure people who like understand this, they met their soulmate because they know, I know they felt it, Yeah.
Because you feel more now, or you felt more with this last guy, was your attachment style the same? Still anxious?
So
no, avoidant?
yeah. So funny enough, anxious and avoidant, they kind of come back and forth.
Okay.
They come back and forth. So on my old relationship, I always kind of like, oh, I never felt jealous. Or because I'm so cool. I'm such a cool girl that like I don't get jealous. I don't have emotion, whatever. But for the first time I ever felt jealous when I was like with this guy, I was like, whoa, what is this?
Oh man, that feeling.
Oh, wow, And it's funny because I had a friend he's a guy, and he was like, when I was like telling him about, he knew when I was married, he knew when I was dating, and he knew also when I was with this guy. He said something that was so simple, and he was like talking about jealousy and stuff, right? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm not a jealous person. I just literally think of me as this person. And he simply said, I think you're not jealous because you never really loved that person or like that person. And I kind of sit with it, oh shit, it really is. I feel like I was going into all my past relationships simply because they love me, not because I love them, because it's safe. And safe was translated to love. This is the love that we want, because that's what we're, our like moms and aunties and everybody who was telling us to like be with the person who loved you. Be with the person who loves you, not we love. How crazy is that? So to me, that's all I know. So like I'm going to a relationship because they love me first, and then I give them back by doing things for them, like not acting like it's just love. It was an act of love. It's not really a feeling of love. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So now that I, fall in love with this guy, and I was like, and then things that I do or things that I felt was completely different. And my anxious attachment, it came out to like, I never seen it before. And I'm feeling all the feeling that I never felt before. And I was completely like, I felt so imbalanced, like I felt so like, whoa, like I don't know what to do with myself. What kind of feeling is this? I'm like, why is it so painful? Why is it I'm feeling this way? And again, because I all of it knew, I felt embarrassed of that feeling. So I tried to deny it. And that's actually the first thing that happened in our, when we first got together. That was a lot of that in the relationship. I think we call it crazy in love, which I know like we don't want to agree with the words of crazy in love, because we shouldn't. Because when you met the right person, you're supposed to feel safe in love, not crazy in love. That's exactly why we're not together. But we were, but that because we were so crazy in love, it creates so much anxious attachment. Because like, just imagine if you like, just think of it as you were a little kid and you have your most favorite toys, how you're scared if you're gonna lose these toys, right? So the more you love it, the more you care. The more you're scared. That's exactly what happened. And I don't know what to do with it. And I think we both was feeling the same way about the relationship. So it created a lot of tension. It created a lot of anxiety. Like we both have so much anxiety, but we both don't want to talk about it. In the beginning, he did talk about it. And because again, I kind of tried to deny it. Because like when he wanted to be always so close to me, and I started, I need to space for myself. I need like a day for myself. I started to create all this excuse to be away, pushing my avoidance side out, and try to come across as like I'm a little independent. I don't need you, the kind of person. And because I'm creating this little, Miss Independent, apparently this personality is creating a lot of insecurity to my men, which I never knew. I never knew. After the last guy, I started to see the pattern from my first married. For my ex-fiance, my first married, my second boyfriend, like the relationship after that, the ex-boyfriend after that, have creating the same issue. And then I remember like, my ex will sometimes told me that like I created that insecurity. And I'd be like, it's not my fault if you're insecure. Like I was so blinded by it. I didn't know that I was creating this like feeling that like the back door is always open so I can run anytime I want, because that's how I protect myself, but that came out in the relationship in a very, very negative way. Yeah.
Would they flat out say it? Like, I don't feel safe. Like, I feel like you're going to leave.
They did. But I kind of like, again, to me, I'm kind of looking at, oh, you're insecure. Like, it's not my fault, because I didn't know that I was projecting that into the relationship. I didn't know that until like the last one. I was like, okay, after seeing a 3 pattern, I should sit down and maybe it's me. Maybe it's me, so that I have to really sit on it. And then that's when, again, when you're starting to ask a question genuinely, I think that's when your soul, and when you sit in a quiet place with yourself without any other like noise, that's when you really know the soul and the universe will like speak to you. And that's when I'm like, oh, wow, okay. I have to admit that was me.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice, because in today's culture, we're always doing, especially like modern women, if you're really capable, we're always doing, which can be a distraction.
Yes.
If you're not working, you're like consuming, you're like listening to podcasts or, but how often do we just sit quiet? Like you said, the journaling, I've been doing that more, and you get a lot more clarity. I didn't realize like I'm always doing shit.
Yeah, doing shit. Yeah, exactly. Because what doing has a lot to do with, I think, in culture, doing has something to do with our self-worth. If we're doing and achieving, where our self-worth is more, but we're not doing anything, we become kind of like, oh, you're lazy. And you're like,
aimless.
Not
sexy.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, doing and achieving is like all things that we have to do, but it's not like that. We just have to be human.
Absolutely.
Just be human.
Absolutely. Yeah. Is there anything specific that you want to work on right now for yourself?
Oh, a lot. I always feel there's a lot to learn, There's a lot to learn. The one thing that I learned the biggest this week, I just finished the book of Jose Silva. And wow, mind blown, because we are so conditioned to know who we are as who we are. When we become very stubborn of who we are. That's what they say, old dog don't learn new tricks, But we can learn. Everything is reversible if you want it. If you want it, you can. It's just what it is, Because I remember like one time when I was into like the therapist, and like the therapist was like mentioning about every human have capacity, a different capacity, in a sense of like, she's saying that like not everybody is given lemon, like a lemon can make it into lemonade. I was kind of like, don't know how to agree with that, because to me, I think they need to know first if you can make lemon into a lemonade. But if you don't know, that's a different story. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessary because every person don't turn lemon into lemonade. They just don't know that they can make it into lemonade. If every person have given a tool to understand that like we are human, as a human, we are a supercomputer with feelings. We're like the greatest freaking universe ever built or make or create, We're an amazing thing. We can do everything that we want as long as we put ourselves, if we want to learn about it, So the idea of understanding that we're just simply a supercomputer that is programmable, that creates so much opportunity to become whatever you want to be. So I think that is like what I'm kind of like want to say, and like taking myself to my full potential and like living on my purpose and like being more spiritual even. My next book is going to be Dr. Joe Joe
Dispenza?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was just listening to her talk.
Yeah. So they're kind of like all aligned. And then I started to realize like all the books that I learned, Martha Beggs, like Don Brown, and like a lot of this writer, I feel like they understand this concept of a human being as, or our brain is like a supercomputer. Everything is programmable. So we can program ourselves, not even by anybody else, by yourself, to become somebody that you really want to be. the sky's the limit, right? At this point. Yeah.
That's great. Are you open to dating right now?
I am open to dating, but I think because of now, not that I know how to let my soul leads, because now I understand my soul is there. I recognizes her. I can feel her. So I feel like I can kind of like using her as my guidance to take me to like, I kind of want to have the universe take me or like bring me somebody. But I think I'm ready, opened up to the possibility of meeting another soul that like my soul will like, because I believe that we can meet more than one soulmate in our lifetime. Not necessarily will be like our forever or not. Of course I would like to meet my forever, but I still don't know that who is going to be my forever. But I want to believe that it is there. There is one there.
When you say like to let the soul lead, do you also have something in mind though that you're looking for?
Absolutely.
And if so, what is that?
Yeah. So I think it's definitely, this is kind of funny. 6 foot tall, handsome, rich, regular stuff, barely basic, spiritual, love food and love to treat me. Yeah. All the good stuff, No, I know it's like I think, I don't want to say like I'm a narcissist, but I think now that I understand, my ex-husband was total polar opposite from me. And when people say opposite attract, I no longer agree with that anymore because
it could be too far.
Too far. And then we cannot be, like I said, we cannot be even in the same room and being happy, like if you are not somewhat similar, like I said, So to me, that's what I feel from all my previous relationship and with the last one is because we are so similar in a lot of ways, And I think it is very important to have the compatibility in every aspect, the spirituality, maturity, emotionally, all of that has to be aligned. That's exactly what we needed. Like, of course, not everything is going to be aligned, but like it has to be a lot of them aligned, in my opinion.
What is your priority in terms of having that connection? Like, is it the spiritual component? Is it the lifestyle component? Physical?
Yeah.
Emotional?
I feel like, it's all the above.
Well, they all matter, but is there one? Because for me,
what is this for
when
you?
I met my husband, the emotional was at the top because I always neglected that.
See, the funny part is, I feel like emotionally, when I was with my ex-husband, was the only thing was connected with me and my ex-husband, was the emotional connection, right? We felt emotionally connected, but we're not spiritually connected because he doesn't believe what I believe.
They say that it's rare. Spiritual connection is more rare.
Yeah, it is more rare. So that's why I think if I have to say maybe spiritual is the most important, simply because when you are spiritually connected, it can go through a lot of different part in our life. Like it can connect to the emotional part, it can go to the life goal part, like lifestyle part, because it has a lot of things about being the spiritual being, in my opinion. Of course, like physical to me is important. I'm not going to say like it's not, because to me it is important to have like, I need to be attracted to this person. Can't be like only one or another. For some reason, never felt with my exes, I felt emotionally neglected, which I'm really blessed, with like all the exes that I was with, because again, they actually loved me first, before I learned how to love them, so I was emotionally nurtured in those relationships or my past relationship, but we don't have any spiritual connection. And then I think the spiritual part has nothing to do with religion part, again, is the spiritual part being like, I think I look at myself, I'm a very deep person. So I cannot be with anyone who's kind of like live in the surface level.
You want depth.
Depth. It's very important. Yeah. Depth is very important for me. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking all these fun
my
things.
God, always so much fun. I know. We can talk for hours.
No, there's like so much more. I feel like this was just like the surface.
Yeah.
But a lot of women can relate to that, especially women who listen to this channel tend to be more independent, career women. We can tend to be in our masculine a little more, so learning to tap into that spiritual side.
Yeah, definitely. But I really think
really
like the biggest thing that I learned from this relationship, this past relationship, is the toxic masculinity. And toxic masculinity, like, don't be surprised. And because you're a woman, because a lot of women doesn't know they have a lot of toxic masculinity. Yeah. You know what I mean? I just learned this,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so like I think this is one first thing that we need to understand, especially if you call yourself a feminist. This can turn into something negative. I'm not saying I am a feminist, because I'm all about like equality and all of that. Oh, speaking of dating of equality, I want to just put them in here. Like I am that person that like when I go on a date and I knew you will know, to be honest, in the first like 10 to 15 minutes, you want to see this person again or not. If I know that I don't want to date this person, I will pay my part and I'm not going to let the person pay, obviously, if they offered, because I don't want to like owe anybody anything. That's how much I am to me. Like, I don't expect guys to do more than us and vice versa. All that, it's all about the mutual respect and stuff. When you being that independent that you said, be careful with the toxic masculinity trait that you might have, but you don't know you have. Because this will show a lot of relationship and a lot of women who think like, oh, I'm strong. I don't need to apologize for things. And, it become toxic masculinity or become toxic feminist,
Well, if people would like to look you up or send you a DM, where
Yeah.
can they do that?
It's going to be at Yuri Sinata, just like my name.